Here's a question that's honestly terrifying. How can someone who seems perfectly healthy, runs 10Ks, eats salads, feels great, be walking around with a catastrophic blockage silently growing inside their arteries? How is that even possible? Well, today we're going to dig into the hidden biology of why a heart that seems totally fine can suddenly and tragically fail.
And look, the stakes here are just unbelievably high. For about half of all men, and get this, a staggering 64% of women, there are zero warning signs beforehand. No chest pain, no feeling out of breath. They feel completely fine one minute, and the next, they're not.
So yeah, that's the big mystery we're going to solve. How can the body's most critical engine just give out without ever flashing a single check engine light? The answer, it turns out, is buried in a huge misunderstanding of how our own bodies are designed to work.
Okay, to get this, you gotta picture your heart's plumbing. Think of the arteries feeding your heart like the root system of a giant tree. Well, there's one main root that's more important than all the others. It's called the left anterior descending artery, or LAD. In the emergency room, it has a pretty grim nickname, the Widowmaker. A clog here isn't just a problem, it can take down the whole tree, instantly stopping the heart.
So how does this killer blockage even start? Well, it all kicks off with tiny, microscopic scratches on the super smooth lining of your arteries. Things we all deal with, like high blood pressure or high blood sugar, basically act like sandpaper on that lining. Your body, always trying to fix things, rushes in to patch those little tears with LDL cholesterol, kind of like using spackle to fix a hole in the wall. But then your immune system shows up. White blood cells start gobbling up the cholesterol, and this whole messy mix eventually hardens into what we call plaque.
Okay, this is where things get really, really interesting. Because the way we all picture this plaque building up, it's completely wrong. And this one single misconception is the real reason so many heart attacks seem to come out of nowhere.
You know how we all imagine it, right? It's like a kitchen drain. We think plaque just builds up on the inside, year after year, making the opening smaller and smaller, until, one day, it's totally clogged. It makes perfect sense. You'd think you would feel the flow slowing down over time.
But here's the crazy part. That's not what happens at all. The human body is smarter than that. As the plaque starts to grow in the artery wall, the wall doesn't get narrower. It actually stretches outward to accommodate it. It's a process called positive remodeling. And this right here is the whole problem. You can have a huge amount of plaque building up inside the wall of the artery, but the channel where the blood flows stays wide open. You're getting 100% of your blood flow, which means you have exactly zero symptoms.
Okay, so if the big clog that's been growing for years isn't the problem, then what is? This brings us to the real killer. And it turns out it's not the size of the blockage that matters most. It's how stable it is.
See, the most dangerous plaques are the ones that are soft and mushy and unstable. Think of it less like a hard rock and more like a really angry, inflamed blister on the inside of that artery wall, just filled with gunk and covered by a paper-thin cap. Now, if that thin cap tears, maybe from a sudden spike in blood pressure or a moment of intense stress, the body just freaks out. It thinks there's a wound, and it does what it's supposed to. It forms a massive blood clot to plug the hole. But inside a tiny artery, that clot can grow so big, so fast, that it completely blocks all blood flow in a matter of minutes. It's like jamming a cork into a bottle. Boom, blood flow stops. And that is a type 1 heart attack. So, that sudden explosion, that's what we call a type 1 heart attack. But there's another kind, a type 2, that you often see in people like endurance athletes. This one isn't about a sudden rupture. It's a simple case of supply and demand.
Let's take this runner, Robert, for example. He had about a 50% blockage. Now, sitting on the couch, that's no big deal. But when he's in the middle of a race, his heart is screaming for a fire hose worth of blood and oxygen. But that 50% blockage means the artery can only deliver a garden hose worth. The heart muscle starts to starve. And he didn't get that classic movie-style chest-clutching pain. Nope. He just felt weird, lightheaded, nauseous. He thought he was just dehydrated.
And this, right here, is maybe the most important thing to understand. Over half of all heart attacks, we're talking the sudden, deadly ones, happen in arteries that are less than 50% blocked. And why is that? Because it's the smaller, soft blister plaques that are the most fragile and the most likely to pop.
And if you think the body hiding the plaque was its only trick, think again. It has another ace up its sleeve, one that can actually save some people's lives, but paradoxically makes a heart attack much deadlier for others.
First, let's just get one thing straight.
You usually won't feel that classic chest pain, what doctors call angina, until an artery is about 70% blocked. That's the tipping point where even simple things, like walking up a flight of stairs, demand more blood than the artery can supply. That's your body's check engine light. But as we just saw, the real disaster can strike long before that light ever has a chance to turn on.
But here's the body's secret backup system. If a blockage grows really slowly, over decades, the heart is so incredible it can actually grow a whole new network of tiny blood vessels to go around the clog. It builds its own little side streets and detours. This is amazing, and it explains why a 70-year-old with really advanced heart disease might survive a heart attack that kills a perfectly fit 40-year-old. The older heart had decades to build those bypasses. The younger, healthier heart hasn't.
Okay, so we get it. The body is an absolute expert at hiding the silent danger, which leads to the billion-dollar question. If you can't feel it, how in the world do you find it before it's too late?
You know that standard cholesterol test you get at your physical? It's a decent start, but it's got a massive blind spot. All it does is tell you about the ingredients for plaque that are floating around in your blood. It can't, and I mean it physically cannot, tell you if those ingredients are actually sticking to your artery walls and building up into these dangerous plaques.
To actually see what's going on, you need to look inside. And there are two main ways to do that. A CAC scan is a fantastic starting point. It's a quick, 5-minute scan that looks for hardened, old, calcified plaque. But the ultimate early warning system, the real game changer, is a CT angiogram. This is the only test we have that can actually see the soft, unstable, dangerous blisters before they ever get a chance to rupture.
So, what this all means is that we can finally stop guessing about our risk based on a blood test and start knowing with certainty what's happening inside our arteries. So let's talk about how to put that knowledge into action.
All right, when you put it all together, the game plan becomes crystal clear. First, control your blood pressure. That stops the sandpaper damage from even starting. Second, manage your blood sugar to keep that dangerous inflammation down. Third, keep exercising, because that encourages your heart to build those life-saving side streets. But the biggest one? Don't just guess you're healthy because you feel good. Use the tools we have now to move from guessing to knowing.
So I'll just leave you with this one thought. We all test the smoke detectors in our house, right? We do it to get an early warning for a fire we can't see. Well, your heart is the one thing in your house you absolutely cannot live without. So, isn't it time you tested it too?